Good morning. Thank you for joining us today in this session. We certainly appreciate your time. My name is Doug Nashke. I'm the Senior Account Executive from ePlus Technology, who is sponsoring this session. So the obligatory advertisement, ePlus is a nationwide value-added reseller, and we have an internet security practice where we provide solutions and services for a number of security vendors that you're probably familiar with. And I have some information on some of our solutions. These cards you can take with you at your convenience at the conclusion of our session. But my job really here is to introduce our presenters today. We have Stacey Wright, who is the Intel Manager for the Center for Internet Security. The Center for Internet Security runs MS-ISAC, which you're all probably familiar with. And then we have Gary Coverdale, who is the Chief Information Security Officer for Napa County. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stacey and Gary.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. The reason I'm here is because of the topic of collaboration. I gained so much personally, and my agency gained so much by doing extensive collaboration with different agencies and associations. And this is an interactive presentation, so feel free in the middle of the presentation at any point to raise your hand and ask questions. Be very comfortable with that. So this is about getting the most out of public sector cyber security associations in collaboration. With public support, we've got MS-ISAC and the Center for Internet Security, CCUBE, InfraGard, regional fusion centers. We have a couple on the California coast. Critical Infrastructure Council for state, local, territory, and tribals. Department of Homeland Security, schools, education sector, NIST. Then in the private sector, there's a lot of collaboration. And when we talk about collaboration, generally we're talking about no-charge support for you personally and for your agency. And of course, Verizon publishes the Cyber Threat Report, which is an amazing threat landscape report. SANS, I'm hoping you're all familiar with SANS. They have both free, no cost, and at cost training and resources. And then WebSense Cyber Report is another go-to for the threat landscape. This C3 voluntary program is a hands-on support for us, for the state and for locals and tribals. And so they have various resources and publications and supports, all voluntary and based on the NIST cybersecurity framework. And Stacey.
So the NCIC is one of those organizations that you can reach out to. It's the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center. It actually works both cybersecurity matters and communications matters. It houses the NCC.
Well,
we're all good. It was a pretty picture. All right, so NCIC. It's a place you can reach out to. US CERT sits there, DHS sits there, the varying ISACs, which we'll go into a little bit later, also sit there. The whole idea is it's a collaboration floor where we put everybody together from the federal government, representing the state and local governments, and from the private sector. So they're all talking about cybersecurity and communication matters. They're a 24/7 operations center, which also means that if you ever have issues, it's a good place to start. From a DDoS attack to a TDOS attack, this is a good place to make a phone call if you don't know who else to call, because they're going to be there and they're going to be able to direct you at the right resources.
so the Center for Internet Security is there for CISOs and CIOs and security professionals from, once again, SLTTs. They are part of the fusion centers. They're part of the critical infrastructure sectors, law enforcement, nonprofit organizations, academia, and for large global enterprises and small and medium-sized businesses. And they cultivate a collaborative and trusted environment for information sharing. And you're not too big or too small to be part of these collaborative nonprofits. Their focus is on readiness and response, and a couple of these organizations provide 24/7 incident response support. So if you're getting hit by DDoS or something's going on, You can call them up 24 hours a day, and they will jump right in and bring the right resources in, ask for your logs and so on. And it's a fantastic thing. And a lot of these, your web-facing, your public-facing sites are currently being monitored by these couple of these different nonprofits. And they do facilitate the partnerships between the public and the private partners. And of course, you know, they're very timely and actionable, and information's collected and collaborated and presented. The MSISAC, Multi-State Information Sharing Analysis Center, is one of my key component collaborative groups that Napa County uses and many counties in California uses. Michelle Robinson, your CISO at the state, is actively involved in it. I happen to be on the executive committee for the MSISAC. So we get a lot of resources and a lot of support, and it has elevated me personally and our county up to a much more mature security posture. And by the way, I encourage everybody to get on the MSISAC site and become a member at no charge. So we've got all 50 states. We currently have 78 of the fusion centers, 724 local governments, and that number is climbing. We have 4 territories, 9 tribal governments. Of course, I mentioned the 7x24 monitoring. And they analyze approximately 250 billion logs a month. Currently, we have the nationwide cybersecurity review. We call it the NCSR, and it is opening October 1st, but you can register for it now. It's a review based on the NIST cybersecurity framework, and it'll come back with an analysis of your current maturity level within the NIST cybersecurity framework of about 100 to 110 subcategories within the framework. It's a very complete and comprehensive review. It matches your agency to other agencies, like-kind agencies. In my case, it's locals, counties, cities, and compares us with all the other on a nationwide basis. And it is anonymous when you do the review. Nobody knows who you know, it doesn't say about your agency name on the comparisons and all that. So it's a really safe and comfortable process. We're actually doing our HIPAA security rules self-assessment this time around and connected to the NCSR, which is connected to the NIST cybersecurity framework. Our interagency data exchange agreements that we have with many of your departments are based on the NIST cybersecurity framework. So it's just an awesome thing. It's at no charge, and you go to the MSISAC.org site and register, and then it starts October 1st and completes at the end of October. Strongly encourage you to look at getting involved in that. And once again, it's at no charge. It's probably worth $15,000 or $20,000 in analyses. So do it. No excuse not to do it. They do the malicious code analysis platform. It's all web-based. Members submit and analyze suspicious files, executables, DLs, documents, quarantine files. Very supportive of analyzing your malicious code environment. Go ahead, Stacey.
Sorry. So something really cool about this is we will actually put you in as an individual member, and you can submit your report. Now, the awesome thing to me about it is if you submitted a report like this, a piece of suspected malware up to some of the open source sites, well, we know the bad guys actually monitor those sites. They see what's on there, and when you submit that file, the bad guys know you caught it, as well as the antivirus companies. This is all internal, and it's specifically for the state, local, tribal, and territorial, SLTT, domain. What it specifically does is give you very quickly back a report as to what happened when that file was run in a sandboxed environment. If you are part of a group, so say your organization has more than one login, you can connect yourselves all together and each of you see what the other person has submitted, so you can keep track. From the bigger picture perspective, what this does for MSISAC is now it gives us a very good idea of the malware affecting the domains that we are not monitoring. So when you submit something, it goes into our tallies, and that tells us if we've got 10 state governments submitting the same piece of spam, same piece of malware, all one Monday morning, there's probably a massive spam campaign going on, and we will then send out a cyber alert notifying everybody about that campaign so everybody can block it on their systems. So it's a little bit of a give and take. You get a lot of information, it's a great free resource, but by giving us just a little bit of it, we also feed it back to everybody. We do all of this through something called our Security Operations Center, or SOC. I mentioned that we monitor state governments. We're actually monitoring 35 state governments right now, as well as about 20 or so local governments and 2 of the territories. So when we say we're the key cyber resource for state and local governments, we really are the key cyber resource. On top of that, we have the 700 members. All of that information goes in through the SOC, where they do threat analysis, vulnerability analysis, and look at this kind of data for trends. Go ahead. Out of that comes a bunch of different things, including help. That's the biggest thing, right? Free resources. Any state, local, tribal, or territorial government agency, I don't care if you're a police officer on the street, a water department employee, anybody in the public sector can call us at any point in time, 24/7, to get assistance. And we can do everything from explaining what somebody said. You were sitting in a meeting and they said you were being attacked by cross-site scripting, and you're not sure what that is. You can call us, we'll explain it, to full-on incident response and incident analysis. If you go. We actually have a full CERT team who runs here too. Again, a free resource. It does everything in terms of incident analysis and response for an SLTT incident. So these guys will actually come out on site if it's a big enough incident and help you repair your network. And all of that is covered under our contract with DHS, who lets us do this for the state and local governments. So no cost to you. On the back end though, because we're seeing all this information, things like incident analysis. If we find a very interesting incident in one state, we send it out to everybody. All our members get that information so they can use it to protect their networks. We won't tell you who the victim is, but we will tell you the domains, the IPs, so you can block them, the hashes so you can search your files, the actors so you can prepare if they're targeting you. All of the key information you need to do something better for your network. One of the other things we do is the Vulnerability Management Program. You don't even have to be a member to take advantage of this one. So it's a resource available through MSISAC to any SLTT government. If you tell us your domains and IP addresses and then how to contact you, we got to be able to reach back to you. We will actually monitor all our open source feeds for that information to show up. It also means that information we get from third parties, like Spamhaus, gets searched for the IPs. If we see your IP address sending out spam emails, you're part of a botnet doing this, we'll send you a heads up so you can go and remediate that computer, fix it, and stop it from doing it. All we need is domains and IPs sent to us, easy email to do that. The other half of the program is a little more technical. What we do is if we know your domain, we actually reach out and check it. It's not a scan. It looks like a standard GET request from any web browser or typical user. And we look and see if you're using the most recent content management system, the most recent server type. If we can find that you're doing it, great, perfect. But because we know website defacers and hacktivists target this information a lot, if you're not using the most current, say you're still on Windows 2003, which was end of life back in July, we will actually give you a heads up reminder on Fridays saying, hey, you're out of date, you need to apply this patch. Helps you to protect your systems. And again, all we need is for you to send us an email with your domains to get on that list. It's that simple. One of the other things we send out is products. Now, we write some of these are from us, but some of these are from your peers and partners. It's a collaborative group, so we do a lot of joint papers. Some of them, like the cybersecurity advisories, you just sign up for. Anybody can sign up for. I kind of jokingly tell you, if your grandmother wants this, your grandmother can sign up for them. They're patch advisories. So we monitor about a couple hundred major companies for patches when they roll out and decide, is this a patch that needs to be applied critically? Do you have to do it right this moment? If we think it is, typically that means remote code execution, then we send out an advisory on it. Looks like this year we're going to hit about 200 of these advisories. So a lot of them are Patch Tuesday related. You only get 1 or 2 a week. It spreads out very nicely, but it's a great way to know that you've got to update your systems. Other things, other things we do are like the national webcasts. We actually have our members talking to you. We have these webcasts set up every other month where people come in and talk about what they're doing that is so wonderful, or their threat analysis. We've had some public companies come in, some private companies come in. On the members only side, we do things like webcasts for members only, where members talk to each other about how they're doing things, how they're making it better. All it takes to become a membership here with MS-ISAC is an NDA. Truly a 2-page NDA and you become a member. The other things you get out of it are things like the October Toolkit. And I know the State of California booth actually has that toolkit sitting out there so you can see what it looks like. It's free printed resources. Things like papers. If we see great papers out there written by anybody in the community, we'll send them around. So you're getting papers 2 or 3 times a week, not that often, written by MSISAC, written by the federal partners we have, FBI, DHS, NCIC, US CERT, Secret Service, and written by other community members like the Financial Services ISAC or Fusion Centers. We're going to get into Fusion Centers in a couple slides, I know, but anybody who writes a great paper, we'll link to it or we'll send it out to our members so you're seeing what everybody else is publishing and dealing with. And the final little bit is Soltra Edge. Soltra is a company, Edge is a platform. It's actually a piece of software where you can transmit indicators of compromise. Literally, it's machine-to-machine translation through the Stix taxi formatting. So we run a Soltra Edge instance that any SLTT government can sign up for. You receive indicators of compromise automatically. They can be fed into your monitoring systems, your firewalls, whatever it takes for you to do better security. That's the whole point. We collect these from other community members. So as you can see, some of the actual people we're collecting it from are your peers around the country. They're sending us what they're seeing. We're putting it out and sending it out to everybody else. It's a great collaboration effort. So here's the slide everybody likes to take the picture of. 24/7 support for MSISAC. If you need help, here's how to reach us and join this collaborative effort. So I keep saying ISAC. MS-ISAC is one of the ISACs, Information Sharing and Analysis Centers. There are actually about 19 of us out there right now. ISACs are this really great thing set up in 1998 to allow sectors to get together and collaborate. So there's the Financial Services ISAC, the IT ISAC, the Water ISAC. All of the sectors tend to have an ISAC at this point. You can join any ISAC that is pertinent to your sector. Some of them do have a membership fee, some of them don't. They have varying levels of information, but these are sector-level collaborations. Information sharing and analysis organizations are the newest creation. They just got started in 2015, and they're to allow things outside of sector collaboration. So ISACs allow sector collaboration to the federal government. ISAOs allow collaboration, say, on a regional basis, or in a group that crosses a couple sectors but has something in common. It's like an ISAC, but set up a little bit differently, but still gives you that singular voice as an entity that has similar concerns. So we haven't seen a lot of ISAOs forming. I know there are going to be a couple of presentations that will touch on this topic though. So if you're interested, definitely look more into them. And you can also form your own. There's nothing stopping you from setting up your own ISAO to allow you to form a collective voice for whatever you're looking at. InfraGard, I mentioned. Anybody from the FBI in the room? Okay, so those are the folks to talk to about InfraGard. InfraGard is a great resource. It's set up by the FBI. It is now a 501(c)(3). If you join InfraGard and become a vetted member, this is a huge resource for incredible information that comes out of the FBI. This is not the information that gets published open source. Most of it is at the traffic light protocol green level, which means it can be shared across the industry, but it can't be posted to the open internet. So if you're really interested in seeing the information the FBI has, FBI InfraGard is a great membership to join. They also have some great things like meetings. And I don't know how active some of the local chapters are, but I know across the country they have meetings, they have webcasts. My local chapter actually has a monthly meeting where we all get together and talk about what's happening in our organizations and share advice and help. We do it at a breakfast place. It works very nicely. So InfraGard is one of those huge collaborative sessions that if you're really interested in sharing more information about what's going on in the threat sector, please consider joining them. The Electronic Crimes Task Force is the Secret Service's task force for investigating things that have to do with cybercrime. They have a heavy focus on financial crimes, but not solely on financial crimes. You can join the task force, and again, they have monthly meetings, email distribution lists, and the Secret Service will send you information. It's a vetted group, so you know you're in with trusted people you can talk to. And it won't necessarily become this big Secret Service case, but it will actually give you the information you need to make things better within your organization. The Cyber Task Force is the FBI version. It's a little bit more heavily focused on intrusions, but you contact your local FBI office, and if you have that law enforcement component, there's a possibility you could become a task force member there. Again, this gives you access to some of the FBI resources that are not openly available. Both with the Secret Service Task Force and the FBI Task Force, there is one really cool thing you can get if you do become a member. And I do warn you, it is more difficult to become members of these task forces because they're a task force, not a working group. But what you can get is potentially access to some of the Secret Service and FBI trainings. And that's a huge resource. So if you think you've got something that has a law enforcement component in your job, talk to Secret Service or talk to the FBI. Fusion centers are the final big collaborative group. We have 78 DHS recognized fusion centers around the country. We have several more that are non-recognized that tend to be local regional fusion centers. What a fusion center does is fuse groups together. So you have state police, local critical infrastructure, state critical infrastructure, and the federal agencies, DHS and FBI typically, all sitting together at a fusion center. They're sharing information. And that's great because that information then goes out to their members. Here in California, there are 6 fusion centers. There is the State Fusion Center, the STAC, and then a regional fusion center throughout each of the areas. If you don't know somebody at your fusion center, please contact me and I can help set you up with the right person to talk to. But you can become a Fusion Liaison Officer, or FLO. What that program does is allow you to interact with the Fusion Center, like say, send information to them and have them tell you what they know about that information. You'll receive information from them. And I have to say, here in the state of California, the Fusion Centers all have very strong cyber programs compared to the national level. So if public or private sector work with your fusion centers, they can give you a lot of cyber information, especially what's happening at the critical infrastructure level and within the law enforcement communities.
So let's talk about how you can benefit from developing an organization within your peers. So you've got the outside collaborative agencies and nonprofits helping you, but it's really nice to have your peers get together. We happen to have a information security forum that's developed off the California County's IT Association. And it's for the CISOs and CSOs and your network people and all that, your technology people. We meet every 6 months for face-to-face. We share problems, we share solutions. It's phenomenal exchange of information, and you have face-to-face, you know these people, you can go to them. So if there's any possible way to aggregate your departments on a state level, you can have 20 to a couple hundred. So the size doesn't matter, it's getting together face-to-face every 6 months. We've built best practice white papers, we've developed policy boilerplates that most counties are using pieces of it, so there's some huge benefit to that. And once again, we did discuss the problems and solutions, and then we build internal response teams. Nobody knows our business, nobody knows your business as well as you do and your peers. So it's a very important thing to develop and be a part of a group that's internal. Generally, it's at no cost or low cost. It's supported by vendors like ePlus. Doug's one of the supporters of our Information Security Forum. And you set a mission. It's just like any other collaboration group and a goal. And what do you want to achieve? And it's pretty easy in a security format what you want to achieve. You want to achieve a elevated maturity of your security deployment. Who to invite? A lot of times we'll keep it internal because we're talking about things that vendors or the public shouldn't hear. But we do invite the private sector many times to help do presentations and support that. You can invite your executives or your techies or both. Generally, it's the techies that are involved with our ISF. And we've had Michelle and Keith Tresh and many other people come in to do presentations. We have forensic law enforcement, FBI, intelligence coming in. It's very easy to get speakers to this. Like I say, inviting a particular group does restrict information sharing. And future members, you have to vet. You don't want it to get out of control. You want a contained group of like-kind peers that have the same problems that you have within your department or agency.
So if I can interject here too, one of the biggest problems I have seen with sharing at the collaborative level is the groups get out of hand. When you reach that point where you don't know every member of the group, you're a little bit more hesitant to talk about problems you're having. I see this when we have a web call. If it's a con call or a WebEx or something like that where you don't know who's on the call, people are a lot more hesitant to talk. If you're sitting in a room and there's 40 of you, and the people in that 40 change every time, some months it's a different 40, people become a lot more hesitant. So when you're setting up a group like this, be very careful about who you invite and why they're coming. Think about whether you want to share on the techie side, you want to share on the executive side. Maybe you have an executive group that has a techie subgroup. Think about that when you're setting it up and how you vet your members, because that's the quickest way I've seen kill any collaboration space, is letting it get too big, too fast, so the members don't know each other.
And get help from a professional event coordinator. Doesn't cost you anything. We have an event, what's the name of that? Executive events that manage our every 6-month meetings, and we have it at the Lottery Building down in 10th Street in Sacramento. And we have a vendor sponsor that pays for the breakfast and lunch, and it's an all-day event. And so there's very little cost or effort other than getting together and collaborating and talking about what's going on in your agency and sharing and looking at solutions, and have face-to-face networking, and you become friends, and if something happens in your agency and it's weird, you can call somebody else We call Santa Cruz all the time because they get DDoS all the time. We haven't had one, but stay on top of it. So it's really cool to have that connection. So I strongly encourage you, and feel free to call me if you need help putting one together. I'm certainly more than happy to help you out. You got to decide how many meetings. We do it every 6 months. That's a comfortable level for us. We all have our own jobs to do, and in 6 months we have new problems and looking at new solutions and discussions. You want to sustain it. You need a good chair and co-chairs to help out. But there's certainly value. There will be value by doing it. You got your distribution list that we share information with in between those 6 month periods. And like I say, who pays? Well, the vendors are willing to support if they see the market opportunities, and they always see market opportunities, right?
One of the things we found with meetings, though, is a question of how often and via what channels. Sounds like a very easy question, but what if you've got the most active group members who are members of several working groups who, a little bit over here and a little over here. Maybe you're InfraGard members, but you're also the local working group, but now you're setting a collaborative group for this particular sector. When it all works together like that, if you've got the same people in all three groups, 6 months might sound very reasonable, but you find you're talking to them on a much more often basis because you're engaging them at the different levels. So take into account when you're thinking about engagement and how often, how your other local groups are working together. And if the same membership is crossing those boundaries, you gotta take that into play when you're setting up a new group.
And think about the geographical locations of your peers that you want to meet. We're all over the state, so it's important for us to meet every 6 months. But if you're more local, you can be a little more informal or maybe annually, depending on what your needs are. This is going to be published on the events website, but we also have a toolkit here with many links and discussions about who you need, what's out there available, how to contact, what they do to help you. So I only printed 35 of these. We may have enough, but if we don't, we'll get you some more. But this presentation will be on the site with all these links. And there's so many links. And start off with MSISEC and CIS, Center for Internet Security, and go from there, because that is my personal premier benefit is the MSISEC CIS website and all the support services, but there's tons more out there. So we're open for questions. And is there anything, Stacey, you want to mention on them?
So I guess I would say go for your fusion centers, talk with your fusion centers. They're a huge resource that I know is underutilized around the country. Anybody in the fusion centers here? I see a couple heads nodding. No? Okay. I know there's some fusion centers representatives here, but again, I can connect you with those people and really give some consideration to setting up a local working group. These working groups, these collaborative efforts, you get what you put into them. So I have found 15 years in the business has told me that if I'm part of a group, it doesn't matter if it takes 5 or 10 minutes of my day every day. If I'm the one sending out an email, hey, this is an interesting news story, everybody check it out. That kind of stuff is what builds the group. You take those 5-10 minutes to do something you're probably already doing and just send the email to the working group or to your collaborative group, instead of your friends and your colleagues, the people you're normally talking with. That little extra work builds the group, and it's one of those things, you become that person everybody turns to. So even though you're taking the work, they're going to start calling you with questions, and that helps you do your job better, no matter what your job is, because it helps you learn what's going on around you and in the industry.
And all this collaboration means a personal career enhancement for your security career. So I strongly encourage you to get involved. As I mentioned earlier, the nationwide cybersecurity review is a no cost but a very high ROI, of course, of analyses of your security posture. And like I say, it's painless, it's very thorough, and it's anonymous. And for those state agencies that are under Michelle, talk to her about it because she's got a state and the departmental. It's all set up so that all the departments can fold up into the state, so there's no tripping over each other, and so it gives her a picture of, and it's once again anonymous, but it does give the picture of how it's going in all the departments and at the state level and how we're all tied in together from a maturity posture. So I encourage you to go to MSISAC.org and look at the NCSR. So do you have any questions? Yes.
The state of California, just by executive order, creating their own integration center. I know a couple of states have done the same. How does that alter or enhance the working relationship with MSISAC?
We find it does both. It alters a little bit because now the information flow is primarily through that entity, but it enhances it, which is definitely not a bad thing. That entity has a great common operational picture of what's going on within their state, and that means that at a very technical level, we can compare their state across other states, especially other states of a similar size, and give them a much better picture of how they compare and what they're doing. So I love it when states do that.
And Michelle's really tied into the MSISAC arena, and it certainly helps to have both what the state's doing and what the feds are doing, DHS and MSISAC, in support. And there's all sorts of beneficial Venn diagram type stuff happening the responses and things like that, it just benefits everybody, and it benefits if there's an attack at the state level or something's going on. The collaboration is there with your CISO at the state. And she's also very collaborative and very supportive of our particular county agency, the ISF. I really thank the state for being involved in that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Has the MSISAC ever helped or provided guidance on for any agency who wants to do a cybersecurity tabletop exercise?
Sure, we actually have resources. This document, it is TLP green, we can't have it open posted, but part of what the toolkit it talks about includes something from DHS that talks about doing those. And MSISAC will participate. If you ask us, we can give you scenarios to use, things that we've heard work, connect you with the people who have done it elsewhere so you can get that one-on-one engagement with them and learn how they did it, what they would do again, what they wouldn't do again. But we can also just play along as a member and provide insight as to the kinds of feedback we would see in that scenario and what we would do.
And all the members, when we participate in I don't know if it's monthly, but pretty much a quarterly basis, we do have tabletop exercises that's presented to all the members of MSISAC, whether you're state, local, or territorial, tribal.
Yeah, those 15-minute TTXs are available on our monthly call. I believe we're going to be posting them to our website soon. Our monthly call is members only, but these are 15 minutes. Usually we find that they are generated out of a scenario somebody had. So it was an incident that for some reason was a little bit different than we had seen elsewhere. They're meant to get you talking and making sure you have the right contacts with the right people. Most of our members tell us they don't last 15 minutes, an hour is more reasonable.
Like Stacey says, members only. Well, it takes 2 pages and probably about 7 lines or 8 lines to become a member. So if you're a state agency or a county or city or any public agency, become a member of MSISAC. If you're not, you're losing so much opportunity, resources, and information. So I strongly encourage that. So go to the MSISAC site and become a member. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.